Good morning and welcome to San Damiano's Stations of the Cross. As in everything else this past year, our San Damiano stations have looked a bit different as well. My name is Jan Stegner and I have been joined every week by a different guest to walk with you through the stations this Lenten season. On Saturday from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m., you will have the opportunity to drive to San Damiano and listen to the taped version via your iPhone. There is about a 25 to 30 second time frame to walk from station to station, so you will have time to walk safely. This week, we welcome Margaret Riley, our spiritual director and retreat presenter here at San Damiano. The version of the stations we will be praying this morning is Stations of the Cross in the View of Contemporary Social Justice Issues by Lisa Briones and myself, Jan Stegner. Station 1, Borders. Jesus is condemned to death. Many families come to the United States looking for opportunity and a better life for their children and grandchildren. The families come to the U.S. filled with hope, yet getting here is dangerous, distressing, and incredibly risky. Once they arrive, they face difficult tasks such as learning a new language, finding housing, and finding work. Often, immigrant families are judged by others, disapproved of, and belittled.
Jesus, you are a condemned man standing amidst the chief priests, the scribes, and your community. You wait for the voice of Pilate to finalize your fate. You stand alone, judged by others, criticized by others, and mocked by others. You are scorned and humiliated. The dignity to which you once held has been ridiculed and disrespected. Sentencing is different, but the feeling you face some 2,000 years ago is the same feeling many families who come to the United States looking for a better life to face tomorrow.
Station 2, Abuse. Jesus carries his cross. Abuse can come in many forms, such as physical or verbal mistreatment, injury, assault, violation, rape, and unjust practices. Abuse is the improper usage or treatment of a thing or a person. Abuse stems from the need to control something or someone. Abuse is harmful and hurtful. The abuse can be for various reasons, such as personal gain, personal gratification, psychological projection, devaluation, envy, or just for the sake the abuser may simply enjoy exercising power and control.
Jesus, you are and will suffer incredible at the hands of abusers. The type of abuse you suffer should not be a part of life. Abuse that comes at the hand of another and torments your body, your spirit, and your soul. You who opened your heart to outcasts in society, offered your compassion to the hopeless, healed the sick and dying, and dared the world you knew to live a different life, a life of love and mercy. You now suffer at the hands of abusers who chose to exercise power and control over you.
Station 3, unemployment. Jesus falls the first time. An able-bodied, mentally capable human being has fallen. She has been laid off and is unemployed. Unemployment is plain and simple hard. It is frustrating, depressing, and brutal to one's self-esteem. Unemployment is not bias. It can happen to any one of us at any time. We position our own value on things: the bigger house, the flashier car, the countless number of hours we work, and of course our paychecks. All of these things seem to prove our social status to mostly ourselves. When these things go away because of the loss of a job, we too feel loss. The question is, though, do we get back up?
Jesus, you are walking on the dirty, dusty, and hot road to Calvary. You are bloodied, bruised, hot, thirsty, and hurt. You fall. On top of all this, you have a crowd of onlookers shouting, "Crucify him." The day we fall flat on our face in front of everyone we ever wanted to receive approval from is the day when we finally see what is really important in this life. However, even more important than this is the day we decide to get up from that fall and carry on.
Station 4, bullying. Jesus meets his mother. Bullying is a pattern of humiliating and harming others. Bullies are made, not born, and bullying happens at an early age. Often, bullying takes place in the presence of a large group or crowds of people. Sometimes, a bully creates the illusion that they have support from the majority of the crowd they are in front of, so to instill the fear of speaking out of others in the group.
Jesus, you are being tormented, intimidated, and persecuted in front of a crowd of people. This crowd of people is also your community, the people whom you cared for, you forgave, you healed and loved. One person comes from the crowd, one bystander who is hurting as much as you, not in the physical way, but in only a way a mother could while watching her son in anguish. Mary, the unconditional love you have for your son is love that is godly.
Station 5, stereotyping. Simon of Cyrene helps Jesus carry his cross. Stereotyping is very popular in popular culture. Stereotyping is assuming that a certain group of people are all alike. Stereotyping is assuming without any factual knowledge at all. Most stereotypes are inaccurate and are based on racism, sexism, and xenophobia. Stereotyping is offensive and a form of prejudice. It is easy to stereotype, to simply put people in a box where we think they belong and not feel the power of presence in the people we meet.
Jesus, you continue to walk through the crowds of jeering people. Simon of Cyrene was in that crowd. The Roman soldiers chose Simon to help carry your cross because they didn't want you to die before they could put you to death. Not much is known about how Simon responded to his call, but what we can say is that he needed the request and went against the grain of the crowd. Simon got involved. Simon stood by Jesus in his time of need, and Jesus allowed Simon to help him carry the heavy cross.
Station 6, Healthcare Providers. Veronica wipes the face of Jesus. Healthcare providers take care of us, plain and simple. Nurses, doctors, mental health professionals, caregivers, pharmacists, and physical therapists. A provider is a person who gives someone something they need. A good healthcare provider is one who is compassionate, authentic, merciful, kind-hearted, and gentle.
Jesus, the salt from your perspiring head and face fall into the open wounds on your skin. It stings and hurts, yet you press on, knowing full well that this journey is only halfway finished. Veronica, a woman from the crowd, walked to you and gently, with much compassion and mercy, wipes the blood and sweat from your face. Jesus continues on his journey. He does not resist it. However, he does respond to Veronica's kindness in the midst of his oppression.
Station 7, Addictions. Jesus falls the second time. Addictions are like falling down. They can hurt, leave you wounded, and even kill you. Over time, addictions can seriously interfere with your daily life. Addiction is not partial. They can happen to any one of us at any time. Addiction is a multifaceted condition arising from many different components, including exposure to the addictive cause. Not only do addictions cause us to fall down, they also harm our loved ones, friends, and family, triggering them to fall as well.
Jesus, you fall again. You are more tired, more demoralized, and more dejected. Why get up at all? Why not stay down on the hot, arid ground and just die there? Isn't this the question of life? Yet, Jesus, who falls a second time, arises a second time, determined to see his cross to the end. Obstacles are part of life. They are normal and regular, and the setbacks that we survive make us stronger in the long run. As Thea Bowman said, keep on keeping on. We must persevere in the toughest of times so that we too can see our resurrection on the horizon.
Station 8, Women Empowerment. Jesus meets the women of Jerusalem. Empowerment is the process that creates power in individuals over their lives, society, and their communities. People are empowered when they are able to access the opportunities available to them without limitations and restrictions. Women's empowerment includes raising the status of women through education, raising awareness, literacy, and training. Women's empowerment is all about equipping and allowing women to make life-determining decisions through the different problems in society.
Jesus, you walk alone. Not one disciple, apostle, friend, or healed person walks with you to your death. You have been completely shunned by your community. Yet, some people did defy the odds and stand with you. They were the nobodies in society, those that were rejected themselves. They were the women. They were people of no importance in our society. Nevertheless, these brave women took themselves out of the crowd's contemptuous people and stood tall in your presence.
Station 9, Loss of Health. Jesus falls the third time. We arise every morning, make ourselves coffee or tea, and begin all that we have planned for the upcoming day. We do this day in and day out, and at times we don't think of not doing our necessities for the day until we can't. Loss of health drops us to the ground hard and fast. We find ourselves not being able to care for ourselves and to lean on others for things that we are used to doing for ourselves. We recognize the irritations that nag us when our lives must be adapted to chronic health conditions and a new normal.
Jesus, you now fall a third and final time. You are dragged up by the soldiers and forced onwards. You fall, Jesus, yet you continue on. Your life was about accepting the costs of justice and love. You remind us that there is no call as important as refusing to quit doing what is worth doing.
Station 10, Homelessness. Jesus is stripped of his garments. Stripped of dignity, self-respect, and worthiness, those who roam our streets are our homeless brothers and sisters in Christ. With nowhere at all to call home, no roof over one's head, fighting the elements of winter and summer, and wondering where one's next shower, bath, or meal is coming from. The stigma that walks hand in hand with homelessness is just as bad as the condition itself.
Jesus, what more could the soldier do to shed you of your dignity? The thought of being stripped naked in public is terrifying. It reduces a person to nothingness. The physical pain of being stripped of your garments with bloodied skin attached to those cloths is alarming. This Jesus, who stands before us waiting for his final moments of life to pass, remind us to pay attention to who we really are. Then, who we sometimes pretend to be.
Station 11, Incarceration. Jesus is nailed to the cross. Incarceration is the confinement in a jail or a cell. Whether it is called a jail, cell, penitentiary, correction facility, or detention center, the bottom line is all the same. You are locked up in a little cell and you're not going anywhere. Many critics believe that incarceration without rehabilitation serves only to dehabilitate people rather than prepare them to return to society in a healthy way.
Jesus, as the soldiers drove those spikes into your hands and nailed you to the cross, it was clear you were in your own cell up on Calvary. Jesus, your cross was the cost to be paid for challenging the authorities of the synagogue. To nail someone to a cross means that there is little chance for change. The cross brings with it a sense of finality, the judgment of forever.
Station 12, Death Penalty. Jesus dies on the cross. Everyday people are executed and sentenced to death by the state for a variety of crimes. Some countries execute people who were under the age of an adult when the crime was committed. Others use the death penalty to execute people with mental and intellectual disabilities, and several others apply the death penalty after unfair trials. People can spend years on death row, not knowing when their time is up, or whether they will see their families one last time.
Jesus, you die alone. They stripped you of your clothing and your dignity. You said your last words and allowed your Blessed Mother to be adopted by your loyal disciple John. You breathe your last breath, and slip quietly into the eternal love of your Father.
Station 13, Dignity of the Human Person. Jesus' body is removed from the cross. Catholic social teaching tells us that we are all created in the image and likeness of God. We are all to be treated with dignity and respect. The value of human life is essential. It derives from God. Human worth does not fluctuate with the level of perceived usefulness of a person to society or the degree of suffering they are experiencing. Human worth is grounded in the image of God.
Jesus, you are taken off the cross and laid in your mother's loving arms. You will be wrapped and perfumed by the women who followed you and cared for you throughout your ministry. You will be taken care of. All of the anguish, and cruelty you suffered on your walk to Calvary has ended. Now we wait.
Station 14, Climate Change. Jesus is laid in the tomb. Climate change is the long-term alteration of temperature and typical weather patterns in a place. Climate change can refer to a particular location of the planet as a whole. Climate change may cause weather patterns to be less predictable. These unexpected weather patterns in the planet's temperature is called global warming. The warming of the planet impacts local and regional climates.
Jesus, you are the light of the world. You are laid in your tomb, a rock rolled to the end of the tomb to seal you in. We haven't learned yet that we cannot enclose you or your love for us. When Jesus succumbs to the death of his ministry, when Jesus permits the synagogue to quiet his voice, one life ends so another can begin. Ours as well as his, so that we may be his voice, his deeds, his mercy, and his love throughout eternity.
A little something about the stations this morning. The stations are a 14-step devotional to observe Jesus' last day on earth. They are used as a mini pilgrimage as a person moves from station to station. At each station, we recall and meditate on a specific event from Christ's last day on earth. The stations originated in pilgrimages to Jerusalem as a desire to reproduce the Via Dolorosa, where Jesus is believed to have walked to his death carrying the cross. In the late 1100s, Jerusalem fell to the Muslims. 40 years later, the Franciscans were allowed back into the Holy Land. the Franciscans received custody of the Holy Land to guard and promote the devotion of holy places. During the 15th and 16th centuries, the Franciscans began to build a series of outdoor shrines in Europe to duplicate the Holy Land. In 1686, Pope Innocent answered the Franciscans' petition and granted the Franciscans the right to erect stations within their churches. In 1731, Pope Clement extended to all churches the right to have stations erected within their churches, provided that a Franciscan father create them. By the mid to late 1800s, the bishops of England were allowed to build them without intervention from a Franciscan friar. We thank you for joining us this morning. Have a wonderful weekend and a blessed Holy Week. Please join us on Monday night, March 29th at 7 p.m. for a Camino meditation service made especially for our virtual pilgrims. And check out San Damiano's website for Holy Week events and continued retreats in April.